and welcome to the Fabulous Women podcast studio. Everyone, this is the episode of all episodes. I'm wearing pink. I'm so happy. We've got a former Miss America, Grace Vanderhei. She is our special guest today. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you so much, Dr. Allen. I appreciate it. And I love that you're wearing pink too. I should have gotten the memo there. I really missed that one. I'm sorry.
That's
sorry.
okay.
But
anyone that wants to zoom up, I have pink glitter nails on.
Oh, those are so cool. So cool.
That was great. First of all, you must call me Kim.
Okay.
And all right, for everyone, I don't know how long this particular podcast episode is going to go, and I don't care because we are going to be talking to this amazing young woman who has such a great story. I'm going to highlight everything. The name of this episode is Be the Woman You Can. And Grace, is it okay with you if I start with your bio?
Go for it. All right. I'll be the person that sits awkwardly while that bio is read. So
I think you have a great bio, and I'm going to read every bit of it. Okay. So after that, then we'll get to the questions. All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So here we go. Okay. Here we go. It's wrong bio. It's okay. I was going to introduce you as my guest from this morning, and that would not have been good.
You know, listen, if I could imitate being an MIT professor, I'll take it. That would be an honor.
That is fantastic. I love it. All right, Grace. All right. So what's really great about Grace's bio is that it's so different than a lot of bios that I read. So this one is, it's not often that you find an athlete, engineer, musician, and a former Miss America all in one. Grace is Miss America 2023, and she's also a former Miss Wisconsin 2022. Grace was named the new face of nuclear energy by the Wall Street Journal and was on the Forbes 30 under 30 list for energy during her year as Miss America 2023. Throughout that year, she spoke in 26 different states and 8 different nations, all while finishing her undergraduate degree in nuclear engineering from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Since concluding her year as Miss America, Grace now works as a nuclear fuels engineer and clean energy advocate at Constellation, where she supports the operation of 12 different nuclear power plants across the United States. She creates social media content, participates in public engagements, and hosts educational workshops to emphasize the benefits of nuclear energy, while inspiring the next generation of scientists, engineers, and mathematicians. Additionally, Grace is also pursuing a master's in business administration at Arizona State University. Outside of the nuclear industry, Grace is an avid water skier, classic violinist, and a travel enthusiast. Oh my gosh, I need a nap after reading that. Okay.
Yeah, me too. It's okay.
Wow, that is a wowie. Okay, so I just want to let the audience know a little bit of something about me, is that my husband is a nuclear engineer, and that makes me a nuclear engineer wife. So I can actually speak the same language as Grace. Okay?
Yeah.
We have just so much to cover here. Before we begin, though, Grace, is there anything that you would like to say to anyone? Anything you would like to add?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here and just not only chatting with you, but chatting with everybody who's watching this and listening to this, because I know for everybody, like, my biggest takeaway in life, and like when you hear my bio or whatever else it might be that you hear me talk about today, I have a lot of people that say, like, I read like a Mad Lib in the way that, you know, those like fill in the notes as you would, you know, you need an adjective and a noun, but you don't know the story. And I think that highlights a lot that, like, you don't have to limit yourself to one thing. And I feel like I'm a little bit of living proof of that. I don't want to be bashful, but like, but in that capacity, if you can be a nuclear engineer and a Miss America, I promise you, when you've got that thing in the back of your head, or where you're like, well, I want to do this, but like, this random excuse, just do it. Put your mind to it and just do it. You guys got this.
Okay. So everyone, I'm going to.
That was a really random. I don't know why I went in that
I
direction,
love
but I'm
it.
like, listen, I feel like this is important.
I
We're
love
going.
it. I feel like I should have a glass of wine and a cigarette, and I don't even smoke, and I
Oh
don't
my
even drink
gosh.
wine. But this is one of those conversations because Grace and I, we need to get on a few minutes before the podcast just to check all of the equipment. And okay, right? We were just like beep, 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 beep. She's amazing. Okay, so all right, Grace, we're going to start, but I do want to say up front that Grace is 23 years old, right?
Yeah.
23 years old. Okay.
Correct.
Right. And she has the mindset of someone with so much experience. And I'm just so grateful that, first of all, you are so fun. I can tell that right now. I love being with you. What I love about you is that you've done so much already and you're as regular as they come. And you're just so willing to open up and tell the world about you.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate it. I mean, I think that that's something that's really important no matter what's happening in your life. Like I talk a lot about like authenticity and staying true to who you are because
Right.
for me I'm like I don't get the point of becoming Miss America if I'm pretending to be some like powerful super cool woman or like something like that when like I'm like that's just not who I am, like that's not the personality or the vibe I want to give off in the world in any way. So
Right.
I don't know. I think it's more fun to be yourself in every scenario than it is to try to be somebody that you're not. And at the end of the day, that's a lot more rewarding, at least for me. So,
Right. Right. And I follow you on social media on Instagram and Facebook, and you all have to do that. She's hilarious. She's so much fun. And I mean, what kind of woman does a selfie with a nuclear reactor in back of her? I love that about you. Come on. All right. All right. So we're going to begin. And everyone knows me that I always put my questions in buckets. So I would like to do that for my audience, those who are watching, those who are listening. All right. So my first bucket is Grace's energy and purpose. So, Grace, you've been an athlete, a musician, an engineer, a beauty queen, and now a clean energy advocate. What's the single thread that ties all these identities together for you?
oh, I would have to say just pursuing the passions. I kind of touched on this a little bit already, but like I honestly think that all of those things I do because I care, because I want.
Mhm.
I felt like I wanted to do something, so I just went and did it. I stopped overthinking about the oh well, how am I going to do this? I just figured it out and kept things going. And I think that that's one thing that like carried it through a lot of those. I like to talk about the balance though of like let's talk about musician and athlete, right?
Right.
Right now, as much as I would wish I was still an athlete, in my college days, I'm not an athlete anymore though. Like, let's be real here, guys. I work a 9 to 5, and I travel a lot, and like I don't necessarily get out on the water as much as I used to. So
Mm.
in that capacity, like things will ebb and flow, but it doesn't change the passion that I have for them where like I'm already thinking about next summer and like, all right, what are my plans to get back out on the water and make sure I can have that time to just do this sport that I love.
Wow.
For context, I was a water skier, so that's like the sport. So I feel like that's an important detail because I don't know if that was actually said or not, but yeah.
Right. Oh, that is so interesting because you don't fight it. That's what I like about you, but you acquiesce to it. Oh, that's great. I love it already. And we're only on to the second question. Okay.
We got more. We got more. It's gonna be
Okay.
great.
So, Grace, when you hear be the woman you can,
Mhm.
what does that personally mean to you right now in this chapter of your life?
Oh, right now, it's so interesting because right now I personally feel like I'm going through so many weird emotions where like I just got married. I'm starting to figure out like, okay, I bought a car, which is like a big thing. And then I'm like, okay, what is healthcare now? But then at the same time, I'm like managing my own side business while working full time. And like there's so many moving parts going on. And I'm really, really thankful and I'm very blessed that these are my problems in a way. I'm very thankful for that. But ultimately right now be the woman who I can be is the woman who I am in this moment, right? Like the woman that I look at these challenges, I look at these things that might feel like mountains because like let's be honest, insurance and the healthcare industry right now is one of those mountains for me where I'm like, well, I don't even know where to start with all of this. But all you can do is take that first step, right? Be the woman
Right.
you can because you can be that climber, you can be that adventurer. And that's all it takes is just putting yourself out there.
Right. And you know what else I found too, because I'm an executive coach, and I found that when people hear like be the woman you can, sometimes people are waiting for permission. They're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that sounds so great, right? But they're
Yeah.
waiting for permission. You're giving people permission. You're
Yeah.
giving people permission to do what you want to do and do it in the moment and not wait for it. So
Yeah.
that's really, I love that message from you already, Grace, because that's very important that other people are not only going to be inspired and motivated by you, but by you doing it. And you're so much fun that it's not that you don't take yourself seriously because you've done so much at the age that you are right now, but you're having fun with it and you're moving
Yeah.
forward. So that's
Well,
so
and I think like one thing that I think a lot about when it comes to like those opportunities and putting yourself out there, my mom always raised me with this mentality of like always just ask the question, because like if they say no, you're back to where you started, right? And like
Mm,
there's no harm in just asking or just trying
right,
something new, because worst case scenario, you don't like it, maybe the answer's no. All
right,
right, then you're back to square one and nothing changed. Like that's it.
right.
It's as simple as that. So
That is great. Oh,
yeah.
your mom, is your mom still with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, she's alive, yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes.
yes. Yeah, she is. So I just saw her over Thanksgiving. We cooked our Thanksgiving meals together and everything. No, I'm very
Aw,
thankful for my family, and they're incredible.
she sounds like a great woman.
She is. She's awesome.
Okay, so you once said that I need to make one connection that starts a chain reaction. What was a chain reaction moment in your own life that changed everything?
Ooh, okay. Well, I want to explain the context of chain reaction for everybody that's
All
watching.
right.
Because while you and I are nuclear people, not
Yes.
everybody that's listening is a nuclear person, I'm willing to bet.
Right.
So I always like to talk about this just because I say that in a quote, because a chain reaction is sort of what we're doing at a nuclear power plant. You've got a nuclear fission process, which is the actual reaction that's happening that helps generate heat. So it generates some neutrons in this chain reaction, and those neutrons go off to hit other atoms, and that creates more neutrons, right? So you've got this chain reaction. So all it takes is one to start it. That's all it
Right.
takes there, which is where that really comes from, both from a science background and then also from a people background. You know, when I think about how people get information or how they learn or how they get truly engaged with something, it's frequently through their peers or their family or their colleagues at work. It's through conversations,
Right.
or even maybe it's scrolling, you know, you're doom scrolling on TikTok before you go to bed tonight. And you're like, oh, I think I'm going to look this up a little bit more, you know, tomorrow morning when I wake up and go back to my doom scrolling or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
And I think that sort of engagement from just one-on-one personal, real human interactions, that's how we just gain skills and knowledge and interests. So that's really important to me. For me, one of the big like chain reaction things that I would say that I experienced actually as a co-op is a lot throughout my high school life. I pushed, and like I know it sounds like I'm still pushing really hard, but it's different now.
Mhm.
But in high school, I pushed to get through things quickly. I
Mm,
skipped a grade. I did dual enrollment in high school, so by the time I
wow.
graduated high school, I was 17. I had the equivalent of a associate's degree already at that point in
Wow.
college credits. Like I had pushed so
Wow.
quickly to get to this next chapter of my life.
Right.
And I was a freshman in college. I had gotten a co-op with Constellation, and a co-op is kind of like a glorified internship. You just stay
Right.
longer than 3 months. So
Right.
just for the background there.
Right.
And I had a mentor there as I was talking about this co-op, because I was like struggling with staying the extra time because that meant delaying my graduation. And I'm like, well, I could
Mm.
graduate college in 2 years. Why should I take time off of school to go and
Right.
work and get
Right.
this real experience?
Right.
And this mentor took the time, and he literally just looked at me and he's like, Grace, you have the rest of your life to work. You're only in college once. Like, you
Mm.
don't need to rush through this. And I don't know why, like that really resonated with me in a lot of ways, that I sat down and I'm like, you know what? Like I can kind of live more in this moment and enjoy
Right.
this moment a lot more. And I did. And I could have graduated with my nuclear engineering degree in 2 years, but I likely wouldn't have become Miss America. I likely wouldn't have
Mm.
found the friend. Oh, I got a little thing there. Sorry,
Right.
distraction. I likely wouldn't have become Miss America. I likely wouldn't have made as close of friends as I had made throughout that 4 years. And I likely wouldn't have had a lot of the experiences I had. So sure, I
Right.
could have done it earlier. I could have gone on to the next thing at an earlier age. But at the end of the day, I'm so much like happier and so much more fulfilled as a human being because I lived in the moment and I got to
Yes.
enjoy that and just be
Yes.
there and like take advantage of the opportunities. I wasn't so focused on just one thing. As
Wow.
other things came into my peripheral vision, I was able to like be like, you know what, I think I am going to try that. And I did. And that's sort of how we ended up where we are today, where I've got a bunch of things that I've kind of said to myself, like, I think I'm going to try that. And now here I am.
That is, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
Okay. So I have to say something that at the very beginning you were talking about, the chain reaction. And I have to say that because I'm not at all scientific, that my husband, who's a nuclear engineer, would sit at dinner and try to explain these things to me. And it would go like right
Yep.
over my head. And I was such a good wife, Grace. I'm like, that I would listen to it as if I knew what he was talking about. But
Yeah.
now because we've been married forever. Now I actually know exactly what you're talking about.
There
Right?
you go. Amazing.
Right?
Amazing. I also like to think about it as taking a bite out of a muffin. You taking the bite is the first neutron. Now you've got two pieces, and then you've got the crumbs all over the counter. So that's
There
also
you
one
go.
way that I like to think about it. The crumbs are what we use to make heat in a reactor.
Okay,
Not the two pieces.
I'm
But
actually
yeah,
I'm actually going with your explanation. All right.
I
Okay,
like
so the
it.
next topic we have is Miss America Journey, Confidence, Visibility, and Courage. During your Miss America year, you spoke in 26 states and 8 nations. What surprised you the most about women's stories, fears, or hopes across different cultures?
I like this question. I think the one thing that surprised me is how uniform it is. Like I think
Really?
a lot of people when they go to other states or other cultures in a way, they expect it to be such a drastically different experience, but we're all sort of facing like the similar challenges in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
No matter how different you think you might be from somebody else, I promise you, you're a human being, they're a human being. You have
Mm,
those shared challenges and those shared mountains in a way that you're both looking at, maybe from two different ends of
right.
the valley or something. I don't know. I'm not
Right.
that much of a poet, so I'm not going to try to make that work too much. But in that capacity, like I think that's one thing that surprised me a lot. And I think what that led to was me being able to establish friendships with women across the world. I've met so many
Okay.
awesome people in Australia, in France, in Dubai, and so many incredible places that like I never thought I would have anything that could relate to these people. But ultimately you do, and you build each other up and you build each other stronger for it.
Right, exactly. Oh, I love that because that's really what my mission is. That's why I always say I love women, I support women, and I promote women for that reason, right? To build
Mhm.
people up. And there needs to be a lot more people like us. All right. So my next question, what was the moment from the Miss America experience that you think actually shaped you far more as an engineer than as a title holder?
Yeah. One thing that a lot of people, if you followed Miss America, you may know this. If you haven't, one thing that's been happening, Miss America's been going through a lot of like ownership changes. And now I feel like it's important to mention like Miss USA and Miss America are two different things, right? I
Right.
think some
Yes.
people put them in the same bucket, two different organizations. So
Yes.
Miss America's a little bit more scholarship driven and a little
Yes.
bit more career driven, I would say.
Right.
But Miss America's been going through a lot of different ownership changes and leadership changes and things like that. And that was a challenge for my year. I didn't know, like I was 20, I was 20 when I won actually, because I was going into my senior year of college.
Right.
Um, and I didn't really know how office politics works, for lack of better words. Like,
Okay.
I feel like there's no other way to say it other than like one thing that I really learned from that year that has made me a better engineer is you know how to navigate some of that like workplace stuff a little bit more
Yes.
comfortable. And I think the one thing that being Miss America taught me from like a workplace perspective is how to fiercely advocate for myself. You know, just because someone thinks that they are ahead or above or whatever it might be doesn't mean that they're right. You know, it doesn't mean that it's the best thing for you as a person.
Right.
So I think that that's something that's really important for anybody going into a new job or going
Right.
into a new role is to make sure to like, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, even though people might say like, oh, well, that's just not really how we do things around here. And like, okay,
Okay.
so maybe we should change how we do things around here then.
Right.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You, Grace. No, you're right about that. See, this is excellent. All right. So if every early career woman could borrow one mindset that you developed during that year, what would it be and why?
Mm. That I developed specifically during that year. Can I go outside that year?
You can do whatever you want.
Oh, cool. I was like, I feel like there's so much more. That year was a really big year for me, and I think it grew me in a lot of ways. But I look at like just these past 2 years since finishing it, and I feel like I've grown so much more as a person. So
Okay.
the one thing that I would say from a mindset perspective, I feel like number one, and I've talked about this a lot, is if there's something that you want to do, go for it. Like,
Hmm.
don't be afraid. And I feel like I've harped on that enough, so I'm not going to go into it too much further. But number two, there will always be time to do a homework assignment, to do a work task, to finish the paperwork, to call the insurance agent, to do whatever you need to do. There isn't always the time for a conversation with somebody.
Mhm.
Like, that's one of the mindsets that I've really taken, is that no matter the deadlines I'm facing, no matter what I'm seeing, if somebody needs to sit down and have a conversation with me, I will take the time to have that conversation, because whatever I'm doing, it can wait.
Right.
No matter what it is. And I really appreciate that mindset, not just for me as a human being, but from the
Mhm.
conversations I've had from a learning perspective, from a human perspective, from a career perspective, from so many different like angles. Those conversations that seem to come up at that inopportune time that you don't really want to have are
Right.
sometimes the most important. And I think that's a really important mindset for a lot of people to have and carry with them, whether it's in your home life, office life, wherever it
Right.
might be.
Yeah, that's amazing. People first,
Mhm.
right? I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we're diving into the STEM and nuclear energy, making the complex accessible. So you've been called the new face of nuclear energy. How do you balance being a scientist with being a public communicator in a field that many find intimidating?
Yeah, I yap a lot. That's all, I feel like that's what all there is to it. I don't know. The balance between it, I love talking about it. I love what I do as a nuclear engineer.
Yeah,
I
you
wouldn't talk
do.
about it if I didn't believe in it, if I didn't
Yes.
passionately care about it, right? So it makes the balance really easy, because I will literally go from like flying on a plane to speak at a conference. And as I'm on the plane, I'll be working on some type of engineering task. And then I'll be talking about whatever that engineering task was on stage 2 hours later. Like,
Okay.
I really think that some of those things are symbiotic in a way, and build
Sure.
each other up and support each other, which is really fun. I'm a big proponent of, I think all engineers should have at least one course on on like communicating their scientific subject to the general public, not just to
Mm,
each other. Because most engineering degrees require a communications course to communicate technical subjects to other technical experts. But that doesn't really do us a lot good when it comes to educating the people who are the stakeholders in
that's
whatever
right.
projects or tasks or ideas that we're trying to build and generate as engineers.
Yeah, and that actually leads me to my next question. So what's the one misconception about nuclear energy that you wish every woman in leadership understood?
Oh, I think for specifically women in leadership, I mean, like, there's so many big misconceptions, but I feel like women in leadership have already addressed some of the big misconceptions.
Mhm.
Um, if I could address one misconception, it would be that you don't have to be an engineer to work in nuclear. You don't have to be some like super high intense
Right.
PhD level person to work in nuclear. And I think that a lot of people, just when they hear the word nuclear, they automatically assume like that's out of my depth.
Right. Right.
I could never do that.
Right.
But like, I always talk about a lot how at nuclear power plants, there's maybe like maximum 5 to 6 nuclear engineers there.
Right.
You really don't have a lot of nuclear
Right.
specific people. You've got a lot of welders, tradesmen,
Yes.
nurses,
Yes.
doctors, businessmen, psychologists on site.
Yes.
You've got firefighters. Like, you have so many different backgrounds.
Right.
And I think that that's something that I wish everybody knew, but especially women in leadership, because I think that that's something that is often overlooked, is
Right.
the idea that like, okay, nuclear specifically, it can be more than just engineers, and it is. We see
Yes.
that.
Yes, it is. So here's a good question for you. How does your engineering brain, how does that help you navigate the world of public speaking and media and advocacy, places that aren't traditionally technical?
Yeah. Simplicity, I think, from the engineering
Yes.
side, because it's always interesting though, because I feel like the marketing and communication side, they argue simplicity in a different way. Engineering is like efficiency, simplicity, right? So how can I do this as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, as simple as possible, versus marketing is how can I get this in like one sentence, right? Like it's kind of the same, but kind of different. So I think when it comes from communicating engineering subjects and technical subjects, it's
Right.
easy to get down this rabbit hole of like, all right, let me talk about this random niche technical thing that we don't need to
Right.
know about. You know, I don't need to
Right.
talk about neutron flux when I'm talking about the chain reaction of fission. You know, that
Right.
we don't need to go into that. So we can just skip that and keep it simple. Make sure to focus on what is the important thing that people need to take away from this technical subject to
Right.
be able to now use that knowledge to develop policy, to have that Thanksgiving conversation with their family, or do
Right.
whatever else it might be with it.
We actually talked about this a little bit before we start recording, that you support 12 nuclear plants across the United States. So the question is this, and I love it because you're so perfect for this. What's the, behind the scenes moment when you're out there in the nuclear reactors that you were saying to yourself, this is exactly where I'm meant to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm when it came to nuclear, honestly, like I realized that I'm in the right field back in college.
Okay.
It was my freshman year, and I had learned that like this science, which had so many misconceptions around it, right? Nuclear is such a charged word in some ways. I realized that I'm like, oh, this is actually something that's all around us. So whether it's medicine, my dad's a 2-time cancer survivor. We're hoping a 3-time cancer survivor right now. He's fighting cancer at this point. It's doing okay. It's doing okay.
Good.
But
Good.
we're seeing nuclear medicine play a role in people's lives. 1 out of 3 times you see your doctor, you're likely getting treated by some form of nuclear medicine.
Wow.
X-rays, imaging, scans, all comes from nuclear technology, right? So that's just the medicine side of nuclear. And then we get into the energy side, which it creates 20% of the United States electricity, which is like
Right.
a mind-bogglingly large amount of energy when you think about it. Like
Yes.
1/5 of our country's electricity comes from nuclear energy, yet we don't talk about it. We don't have these conversations, and that's changing. You know, I think at this point in 2025, people are having those conversations and a lot more accepting of nuclear. But that was when I realized, like, I'm like, this science has so much to offer without
Yes.
public perception, without public
Right.
support. Imagine what it could do for the world if it did have that.
Yeah.
And I think we're really starting to see that come to fruition here in 2025 and going into 2026 as we're exploring all of these sort of energy issues, not just in the United States, but globally across the world.
So
that was that was a tangent, and I'm so sorry. I'm like, we went there. I'm so sorry, guys.
I'll tell you what, I have never seen anyone get this excited over nuclear energy. I'm going to, I wish I had a prize I could give you right now, like an award or something. I love it. So, all right. So moving on to your personal philosophy, that you've lived boldly in spaces where women are underrepresented in engineering, pageantry, energy. So did you ever really have to be the woman you can, even when others didn't see your potential yet?
I would say absolutely. Like there was a lot of times that people would underestimate me in some way, shape, or form. And like ultimately there's always going to be somebody that underestimates me. Like there's always going to be that person that looks at me. And when I kind of loved it as Miss America, because people would consistently underestimate you when you're wearing a crown and a sash and walking into a room.
Right.
That was the fastest way for people to assume that you are that you're dumb. Like that's the only way to say it. Like, sorry. But that was the prerogative that people had in their mind. And it was a ton of fun because I'd walk in this room and start talking about energy policy and nuclear science and like all of these things. And I highly recommend to people to use that to your advantage. Like I don't think being underestimated is a bad thing, because that just presents you with an opportunity to change somebody else's mind.
Right.
So hopefully they don't underestimate the next woman that walks in that room.
Yeah. Oh, that's so well said. So you are a huge advocate for inspiring the next generation of scientists. What do you think we get wrong when trying to encourage girls into STEM?
Okay, here's my hot take.
All right, here we go. All right,
here's my hot take. Okay. I love, I fully support women in STEM and like everything, but I think when it comes to little kids, stop only focusing on women. Stop only focusing on the little girls, because that creates the exact exclusive environment that we as women are striving to avoid, right? So when I reach out to little kids and these like elementary to middle school ages, all the way up through high school, it's not about just reaching out to women's groups. It's not about just reaching out to them. It's about reaching out to anybody who cares, who's willing to listen and have the conversation and
Right.
work with their peers of different backgrounds to build
Right.
the best teams.
Right.
Because that's what we need is individuals from different backgrounds that have that diversity to create that best team at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my hot take, I guess. I don't know how hot of a take it is, but I think a lot back to when I was a kid, and like it feels I don't want to say underwhelming, but like when people will be like, you should go into science because you're a little girl, and I'm like, this is weird. This is weird. Like, this is strange. And ultimately, I'm going to go into something that I enjoy and I'm passionate about and I want to do something better in the world. So give people a purpose, give people a mission, teach them that, and then the rest will happen at the end of the day.
Well said. Well said. I love that. Okay. So now we're moving on to the human side, your hobbies, your joy. You're a classical violinist and an avid water skier. Two extreme opposites. How do those passions recharge or balance you?
Yeah. My violin played a really big role in my life growing up and still does to this day. It's definitely kind of taken a little bit more of a backseat, but my violin was my emotional escape in a way. I talked about my dad's a 2-time cancer survivor. So growing up, that was like a lot of emotional frustration for me. And as a kid, you're trying to figure out how to handle negative emotions, right?
Right.
My violin was my healthy way of processing those emotions.
Okay.
And I'm really thankful for that. And I love my violin. And water skiing and violin are two things that I like to talk about because like, I'm not naturally good at either of them. I have worked hard. I have failed. I have cried. I have had all of the frustrations with both of those things, but they've taught me so much about not taking those failures as like world-ending things, right? It's okay to just get back up and to try it again. Maybe yell at your metronome a little bit if you're angry at your metronome, because that's my fatal flaw is I just can't keep a steady beat. As a violinist, and it's really a bad thing actually. So like it's okay to have those moments, but what matters most is how you respond in those situations and how you handle that sort of failure, whatever it might be, and pick yourself back up. So that's what those two things have really taught me a lot growing up and now continue to teach me. And now at this point, like I love doing them. I love to just create like unique music in a way. I like to take classic rocks, like classical music, and I put a classic rock twist on it. So like for my Miss America talent, I did Summer by Vivaldi. And I used like drums and like a little bit of electric guitar in the background and like just like a classic rock twist on it.
Wow.
So it's something that's fun and I enjoy, and it's that creative outlet.
I love it. Okay. So your pedestal actually just went higher because my favorite is Vivaldi.
Fun. I love it. I don't know if it's my favorite.
No, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
But it is still very good. It is still very good. I do love Vivaldi.
Oh, that is so great. Okay. So you're now pursuing an MBA while working in nuclear fuels engineering. What leadership lesson has hit you the hardest so far now that you're starting your master's degree?
Yeah, I'm officially, as of next week, Sunday, I'll be halfway through my master's degree. Right.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, so it's exciting. Yeah. I'm excited to kind of wrap that up. In all honesty, one thing that I would say that I have been kind of surprised about as I'm like learning about through my MBA, one thing that I'm curious about, I should say, I don't know if it's surprising, but one thing I'm curious about is how much do like people remove the human interaction with their employees of some kind and look at it as like they are motivated by salary. They are motivated by, recognition from their peers. Like, how much is it that like there's a spreadsheet somewhere where I'm checked off by what I'm motivated by, versus like me just getting to know my manager and my manager being like, oh yeah, okay. they both kind of go hand in hand. And I do understand that that's sort of what managers are supposed to do, is understand what motivates their people and what pushes them and all of that. But it's one of those things that, like, I feel like when you learn about it in school, it removes the humanity of working with people in a team. And it feels very foreign and very strange for me, at least,
Mhm.
because I'm like a very big people person.
I can tell.
So that's been fun, but like, it's something that I'm interested with. And I talk about it a lot with my boss, actually, where I'm like, wait, so do you actually do this? And sometimes she says yes, sometimes she says no.
Right.
It depends on the company, depends on the approach, depends on the manager too, at the end of the day.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we have two more questions. So
Okay.
what is one? So now we're getting into looking forward for you. What is one area of your life where you're still learning to be the woman you can?
Oh, so I'm writing a book right now, and
Yes,
like,
we're going
this
to
is
get to that. Okay. Talk
yeah,
about it.
but like, I feel like this is a good thing to talk about, because like, I never pictured myself writing a book. I never thought I would write a book. Like, literally, I had been asked if I wanted to write a book during my year as Miss America, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing that. You cannot pay me enough to write a book, right? And it was so funny because after that year ended, I had an agent approach me, and I was like, I'm kind of bored. I have spare time again. Like, let's just see what
Right.
happens. And it was that mentality of like, I'll just try it. This isn't like a commitment of anything. It's not a formal deal or anything. And as we like kept talking about putting this book deal together, I suddenly realized how important it is to me. And it
Right.
kind of led to this growth that I never once expected. I never once thought I would be writing a book and putting myself to this sort of test in a way. So
Right.
that's one area that I am still, as I'm actively writing the book, still exploring the ways of like being the woman I can be. Is an author was never on my list, but here I
Right.
am.
So now that we're talking about the book, when are you expecting that it might be published?
It's expected to be published March of 2027. So we've got a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, I finish up the manuscript here shortly, which has been going and progressing very well. I'm quite happy with where it's at right now.
Well,
Uh,
good.
but yeah, I'm super excited for it. So we're finalizing titles and all of that good stuff as we
I
speak.
love it.
Yeah.
You can see my 2 books in the back. I wrote 2 books and I
Yes.
love it, and I'll be writing more. But I'm just really impressed that you're doing that because you're right. You've got to feel it,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
can't write on demand.
yeah, and I feel like, I don't know how it went for you, but I feel like a lot of people, when they write a book, at least this is my assumption, right? This is what I assume, is that some people sit down one day and they say, I want to write a book about this. And they go and write the book about it, right? And I
Right,
feel like I didn't start with a clear idea. I didn't start with like a
right,
clear mission of what I wanted to write a book about. I
right,
knew what I wanted to not write a book about. I
right.
didn't want to write a memoir. I didn't want to write a book on nuclear science. I didn't want to have like that sort of thing. So I was like, I know what I don't want to do, but like,
Yeah.
what do I want to do? And that was really that was helpful. So I don't know if you had the opposite experience or not, but
Well, well, first of all, you're doing everything right. No matter what it is, you're doing everything right because it's your brain and no one knows your brain and you do. So when you're writing, I mean, people think you literally sit down and you start typing like chapter 1, and it doesn't work like that at all, right? But sometimes you have to write and just keep writing until you realize I love where I'm going, or you know what? I do not like anywhere that I'm going. So
yeah.
if you know what you don't want, that's leading you toward what you do want. And I
Mhm.
think you're going to be really surprised by the end of your book that you wrote about what you wrote about, because you may say, I never thought it was going to take me there.
Yeah.
So you know what? You're that person, Grace, who you're living in the moment and you're trying new things and you're acquiescing and you are your own message. So your book is going to be amazing because of how you think. So I can't wait
It's gonna be fun.
personally.
It's gonna
Yes.
be
All right.
fun. I'm
Okay.
excited. I'm excited to go back and compare it to like the book pitch, and see how much it actually like matches and differs and where it changed and everything like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
That'd be great. All right. One more question. If
Okay.
every woman listening walked away with just one bold action to take this week, what would you tell her to do?
Try something new every day. I would go past this week, but try one thing new every day. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. You could sign up for a rock climbing class on Saturday. Go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But you could also go to the grocery store and try a new seasoning that you have looked at and you never thought it was like, you don't know what it is, but grab
Right.
it, find a recipe, try something new, like just the
Right.
little things.
Yes.
Because I think that puts us in this state of getting us comfortable with the uncomfortable in a way,
Mm.
ranging from the small things to the big things. So that way, when we're in the next uncomfortable situation, whatever it might be, we're ready to tackle it head on.
Yeah, that's so well said, because once again, when you're doing that, trying the new spice, if you will, you're giving yourself permission to try it because you never thought about doing it, but you're going to do it today. And once we, especially as women, once we give ourselves permission to do things, we're going to keep doing more things
Absolutely.
rather than waiting back and for
Yep.
waiting for someone to motivate us or inspire us or encourage us. So anyway, Miss America 2023, Grace Vanderhei, you are a dreamboat guest. Oh my gosh, I don't want this to end. You are so amazing. I enjoyed every single moment. I've learned a lot. You've inspired me. I think I might adopt you. I really do. I think that's going to be.
Help me with health insurance. No, I'm just kidding. That's all I need.
I'll do that for you. Anyway, you are just so delightful, and it's been a thrill for me to meet you and to have you on my podcast. So thank you so much. And I'm hoping you come back at some time. That would be so great if you could do that. Yes. And also, I just want to remind everyone, I've already said it in the beginning of this podcast, that I like to contribute toward women rising because I love women. I support women. I promote them. My podcast is one place. It's the least I can do. So one thing I do ask as I'm ending my episode is this: for all women out there to please pay it forward for other women. We don't need to have, especially the younger generation, have to kick down ironclad walls just to get ahead. We should be opening the doors for women, and we should be helping them. And even if it's someone in their mid-career or someone who's moving toward the sunset of their career, if there's anything that we can do to help them rise, we need to do that collectively for all women. So that being said, until the next episode, I want to thank Grace, former Miss America. Stay fabulous. Thank you very much.